Hello and welcome back to the Joyful Soul Creates. Charlotte here. Following the success of our Under the Sea hop, a group of us have decided to continue the fun by making mermaid cards throughout August. These are going to be each week on Mondays and it will be with the hashtag Mermazing Monday, and I hope you will follow along with us. My first card is going to have some foiling on it and also some heat embossing. And I am starting with a black card base and a rectangle from Scrappiness Never Ending Rectangle dies. I've dry embossed that into my black card base and then I'm coating it well with anti-static powder tool and I'm going to run it through again. But this time I'm very lightly putting embossing ink onto it because I'm also going to heat emboss the lines of the rectangle. You could do this all in one go, just ink it up before laying it down initially. If I ink it after the initial embossing, there's not as much risk of it moving around as I run it through my die cutting machine, and so there's not as much risk of the ink getting where I don't want it. With the embossing ink pressed in, I'm going to add my embossing powder. This is From Lizi's Rainbow Wishes embossing powder, which is a glittery embossing powder and is very striking on dark cardstock. I did use a paintbrush to brush away any of the excess glitter, and then I'm melting the powder with my Wow Dual Speed heat gun on the faster heat setting. Obviously, the anti-static powder tool has left a lot of white powder on my black card base, so I'm just using a microfiber cloth to rub over that. That did also pick up any loose glitter that was left as well. And then I'm going to move on to the foiling portion of this card. If you saw my recent video on foiling through stencils, this will be familiar to you, but in case you didn't or you just want a recap, I will go through it again. I've masked off the edges of my card around that embossed frame I created, then laid my stencil, which is from Skull and Cross Buns, over the top. And I have just a cheap makeup sponge and some Tombow Monomalte liquid glue, which I am pouncing onto the card base through that stencil. The reason I'm using the Tombow glue is because when it dries, it will be tacky, which is perfect for picking up the foil. I did go and wash my stencil as soon as I'd finished putting the glue through, and by the time I came back, the glue was already dry enough to continue. Next, I took a piece of rainbow shattered glass foil and I've laid it over the area of my card that I had stenciled on. And I'm gently rubbing over with my finger to get that foil to adhere to the glue that I had put down. Once I've rubbed all over that, I'm going to slowly start peeling it back, and I do check as I go to see if there are any gaps, in which case I lay it back down and give it another rub and make sure it's nicely covered until I'm happy with that. And once I am happy, I'll peel the whole thing away. And I did notice there were one or two places that had overfoiled. I think the glue might have squished out a bit from under the stencil, but that's okay. You can just use something sharp. I'm using the tip of my tweezers just to scratch away any overfoiled areas. A sand razor also works well for this, but I decided to use my tweezers instead because the spaces I'm trying to get into are quite small and I preferred the precision of my tweezers over the sand razor. Moving on, I'm going to add a couple of banners. These are MFT stitched banner dies, which I cut from black card. And for the one that's going to be going in the back, I'm going to heat emboss that again with the Rainbow Wishes embossing powder. So I'm just pressing my embossing ink powder all over that, making sure I have a very nice coverage. Then I will pick it up with my reverse tweezers and cover with that embossing powder. I'm going to do several layers of this, kind of like as if making an embellishment. So I will heat set the first layer, and whilst it's still hot, I will dip it straight back into the powder that's already out and heat set it again and repeat until I am happy. I did also off screen add a sentiment to the other banner, and I stamped, coloured and fussy cut a mermaid from Lawn Fawn's Mermaid for You. I actually had coloured that on camera And as I was editing the video, I realised the footage was completely out of focus, so I'm afraid I won't be showing that this time. But do let me know if you'd like me to try and show the colouring in future, because I'm happy to do that if you do want to see that, as long as it records properly, of course. So now all my elements are ready and I'm going to assemble my card. I have the Tombow Monomulti liquid glue again, and I'm going to use that to adhere the sentiment banner to the embellishment banner. This sentiment is heat embossed with Love From Lizi's silver dollar embossing powder, and the stamp I used is also from a Love From Lizi stamp set, and you can find all the products I have used in the description box below. There will be affiliate links where possible, because that just helps me to keep creating these videos, but it doesn't give any extra cost to you. I wanted to make sure the mermaid was going to lie level on my card. I didn't want it to be higher than the banners, so I didn't want to use foam tape because that would be too thick, but I wanted it to be level with them. So I cut some snippets of that same black card and I'm going to adhere them behind the mermaid to pop her up to the same level as the banners. Initially I was doing 2 layers because I have 2 banners of that black card, but the embossing powder being multiple layers does add some extra dimension as well, so I found that I needed 3 layers of the black card. So I put some behind her head, and I did actually end up putting some behind her tail as well. So again, these are just little snippets of card, gluing them together in a layer behind her just to help give her that lift so that she will be level with the banners. And reverse tweezers are really helpful here for getting those teeny tiny pieces into place. I did also bring in a snippet as well and put behind the piece of the sentiment banner that's overhanging the backmost banner piece, because that way that will all lie level as well. And once all those pieces are in place, I will just add some more glue to the back of them and adhere them onto the card base. You might recognise this layout, I've used it a couple of times recently. It's the current MFT sketch challenge, which I believe is ending today or tomorrow. I really liked this sketch and I've had a lot of fun playing with it. And yeah, with all those pieces in place, that actually has completed my card. I hope you liked the different techniques I used for this. Do let me know in the comments below if you have tried any of these techniques and what you think of them. Don't forget to click the hashtag above my title or in my description box to see what else people have been making for Mermazing Mondays. And I will be back with another video for the series next week. If you're not yet a subscriber, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking the button showing on screen now. There are a couple of other videos there that you might be interested in. Otherwise, I'll thank you very much for watching and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!